Feel the heart. Experience the soul. Community Pulse.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Unfortunately, no, it's not Zainab this morning. She's unfortunately has to deal with a last minute family emergency. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant all of the very best and to place sabr and contentment into the hearts of the families, and hopefully inshallah she might be with you in the last hour. If not, she'll be back with us tomorrow between 9 and 12. I'm sure you know what we do on every Thursday morning between 9 and 10, the first hour. We have the presence of Dr. Faiez, Kirsten, who I feel in his time and his presence that he's been here, he's received a lot of listeners and a lot of support, alhamdulillah, because in the programming room we always have questions and calls that where's Dr. Faiez? We want to get into contact with him. What's his contact numbers? And very, very positive feedback. Dr. Faiez, assalamu alaikum. How are you this morning?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mishka, I'm very well. Shukran, and yourself?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. I'm actually excited to be doing this segment with you this morning, and I can only learn hand on hand with you, inshallah. Do tell us this morning. I know we're speaking about good and bad fats and oils, and also the cholesterol scam and the very, very big confusions that's happening at this moment.
Yes, I thought I'd talk about fats and oils because there's massive confusion in the communities and even amongst doctors, as to what are good fats and what are bad fats, what should we be eating, what shouldn't we be eating regarding fats and oils. Is cholesterol good? Is it bad? Should we be on statins? Shouldn't we? There are so many questions. So I thought I'll deal with that today and try and clear up that confusion. But before I do, I just wanted to bring up a topic that 2 weeks ago was brought up about the drought in Cape Town. And I said I know for a fact, that geoengineering is occurring in parts of the world that's where the weather's being modified, geoengineering, climate control. But I didn't have evidence for that happening in South Africa. There's absolute evidence that, in fact, this drought is a geoengineered drought. I don't want to go down that route today, okay? Maybe we can expand on it next week. If I start talking about it, we probably won't cover fats and oils today. But if listeners are interested in the meantime, they can go to a website called geoengineeringwatch.com and stopthecrime.net, and also go to a YouTube video called Kill Cities by Deborah Tavares, Kill Cities. And you can also go to a website called 100resilientcities.org, I think it is. And there's another article you can read on activistpost.com called the Geoengineering Endgame. Okay, so some serious stuff happening.
I can completely agree with you, Doctor.
This is, by the looks of it, along the whole west coast of Africa, geoengineering, weather modification has been taking place for some time now. So, we seem to be part of this whole globalist agenda, one world government program that's been rolling for quite some time now. But anyway, let's leave the dark side for now.
I before we move on to the good and bad fats, Doctor, I must say I can agree, because a few months ago I did the research on my own, and it's something that I spoke about.
Yes.
And something simple, and I saw some of the pictures of the clouds in the sky, and there's no clouds in the sky.
Right.
And then you have a long line of clouds, and where does it come from if the rest of the sky is blue? And something simple like that. So I thought, let me look at that.
Right.
And when I researched that, geoengineering came up. And it's something as simple as a plane coming through or going through into the sky and putting through these chemicals in the air.
That's right. Yeah.
And something as simple as that can, destroy the chance of us having rain.
Yes, it's chemtrails. They modify the weather by pumping aluminium and strontium and all these chemicals into the air, and then it falls down on us. So that sort of adds to the problem, besides we're dying of thirst, we're going to die of chemical poisoning also. So this is all part of the problem, reaction, solution strategy of the globalist agenda to bring in the one world government. People really need to take this seriously. We spoke about the globalist agenda previously, and everything in your life, really is about the globalist agenda. So people really need to research this, and if you want to survive, that is.
Inshallah, we have to.
If the fats don't kill us first and the oils.
Inshallah.
Okay, so there's a lot of confusion. There's basically a cholesterol hoax. Everybody thinks, go to a doctor. Patient is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. The doctor does a cholesterol test. Oh my gosh, your cholesterol is 6.5. You must go on a statin. That is a criminal offense. That's something criminal that's just taken place there, okay? Because the first thing is that statins, does not save lives in healthy people. This has been absolutely shown. It doesn't prevent heart disease. Statins is basically your pharmaceutical companies. I don't know how to describe this thing. These guys have done it. They've done it, really. They've done a really good job about fooling, most of humanity about statin drugs. So it's a scam. That's a myth, okay, that statins actually save lives in healthy people. It doesn't. In a percentage of people that it does sort of have some kind of benefit, people who have had a heart attack before an age of 40 to 70, it has some kind of benefit, but I don't think it's because of its cholesterol lowering effect. It's actually because of maybe its anti-inflammatory and blood thinning effect. So it has some positive effect, but the harm that it does, it's so massive, it actually outweighs any benefits. And in my view, everybody should avoid statins completely. All right. The second myth is that high cholesterol in the blood, is the cause of heart disease. Now, I just said cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease, okay? And there's no such a thing as good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. You always hear, my doctor said my good cholesterol is low and my bad cholesterol is
it's
up.
high.
There's no such a thing. It's just cholesterol, okay? And I'll explain that now. And another thing is that eating cholesterol and saturated fat raises cholesterol levels in the blood. Completely not true. And we'll see where that came from, okay? So first of all, you got to understand what is a fat. It's called lipids in medical terminology, okay? So a fat is a lipid that's solid at room temperature, and an oil is a lipid that's liquid at room temperature. So there's 4 classes of fats and oils or lipids, and one is triglycerides, the other one is phospholipids, the third one is steroids, and cholesterol is a steroid. Actual term is a sterol, okay, but they call it a steroid. And then the fourth one is waxes, which are sort of protection for plants, and wax in your ears also. Okay, so that's also a fat or a lipid. So we need to clear up this confusion. So there's things called, and I don't know, I can talk about all of these things, and maybe people want to send in questions first, or maybe just want me to talk. But there's things called polyunsaturated fats and unsaturated fats, or monounsaturated fats and saturated fats, okay, and then cholesterol. So these are different classes. The polyunsaturated, the saturated, and the monounsaturated are triglycerides, okay, that's one class of lipids. Then cholesterol, as I said, is another class of lipids, okay, so these are two different things. People oftentimes confuse
the both of them.
Saturated, is it cholesterol? And even when you read, articles by doctors, you see the confusion there, okay, these are different lipids, okay. I want to clear up the one thing about the bad and good cholesterol. Cholesterol is just cholesterol, and you need cholesterol in your body, okay? If you didn't have cholesterol in your body, no one would be alive, because cholesterol is in every cell of your body, and it has functions in your brain and every part of your body. If your cell membrane didn't contain cholesterol, your cells wouldn't be able to function, so it maintains the integrity of the cell membrane. So you need cholesterol in your body, and it's found that if you lower a person's cholesterol, especially in older people, those people, their lifespan is actually shortened, and they get sick. You get depressed, they get brain dysfunction, nerve dysfunction, and so forth. So you need cholesterol in your body. You shouldn't be lowering your cholesterol, okay? So now there's another thing called processed fats or processed oils, okay? If you look on the label of foods in the shops, you'll see hydrogenated oils and partially hydrogenated oils and trans fats.
And we don't understand any of these terms.
Completely confusing, okay? So triglycerides, as I said, is one kind of fat, and you have, within this group of lipids, you have saturated fats, you have polyunsaturated fats, and you have monounsaturated fats. Now, these are natural fats. You find them in foods, okay? Naturally, plants and fish and so forth. The saturated just means it's a chemical term, a term to describe, the chemical structure of the fat. These are fatty acids which all the carbons are fully saturated with hydrogen. That's what it means, okay? So in those 3 fatty acids making up the triglyceride, all the carbon atoms are fully saturated with hydrogen. The unsaturated means that there's double bonds between some carbon atoms, and so there's no hydrogen on some carbon atoms, so it's unsaturated. If there's just one double bond, it's a monounsaturated. If there's more than one double bond, it's polyunsaturated. The polyunsaturated are usually the omega-6s, and they found in natural vegetable oils, okay? So if your oil is pristinely grown, it's organic, and you eat it, there's still a risk that that's going to harm you because you can't burn that as a fuel. And so it becomes incorporated into your cell membranes and it causes damage there because these polyunsaturated fats are easily oxidized, okay? But the problem is you don't find natural vegetable oils in your shops. Your food manufacturers don't produce natural vegetable oil. What they do is they process those vegetable oils. So they pump hydrogen through the vegetable oil and it then becomes saturated. So it's a fake saturated fat. That's when you say fully hydrogenated, completely hydrogenated oil. That means it's a natural oil that's been pumped full of hydrogen, a polyunsaturated natural oil, vegetable oil that's been pumped full of hydrogen, and now it's become a saturated fat, which is fake. Okay, it's a fake saturated fat. Then your trans fats are also hydrogen pumped through a polyunsaturated fat, but it doesn't fully saturate the molecule. Okay, and also the hydrogen comes on the opposite side of the carbon bond. This is all technical stuff, but it's very important to understand because now you got a trans fat that's acting like a saturated fat. Okay, because it straightens out the molecule. Okay, the hydrogen. So it's a trans fat is a fake saturated fat. It's actually mimicking a saturated fat, but it's a fake molecule. And these things are the things that cause heart disease. The trans fats, the sugars that you eat, which raises your insulin level, cause inflammation in the blood vessels, infections, and so forth. These are the causes of heart disease, not cholesterol. Okay, and we can talk a bit more about that. Yeah.
You're listening to Radio 786 100.4 FM, and that is the voice of Dr. Faiez. Kirsten, do be a part of the conversation on 0786 10 11 12, and the lines are open on 021 699 1786. Now, Dr. Faiez, we normally distinguish rather good and bad fats by saturated and unsaturated. Is this the correct way?
Good and bad? No. A good fat is a natural fat, okay? So animal fats are saturated fats. Those are good fats, okay? Like give me cream from dairy.
Yes.
You know? Cream, butter, lard, cheese. I don't really like cheese because of the other problems, but I mean the saturated fat in cheese is good for you. Meat, animal fats, those are all good saturated fats. Okay?
And yet the doctors mentioned to us that too much of meat and too much of that type of fat is actually bad for you because then after a while it tends to close your arteries because of the fat.
That's not true at all.
Wow.
Too much meat is also obviously not good. Too much of a good thing is not good, not because of the fat, but because of what's happening to the meat. The poor animals are basically tortured. They're pumped full of hormones and antibiotics. They're not grass-fed. They're not organic. So for that reason, I don't eat meat. But the fat is actually good for you if it's grass-fed, organic beef, meat, if the animal is treated fairly, treated humanely and ate the right food, then that fat is actually good for you. And that's been proven by the Framingham study, which is a 70-year-old study which is still going on today, started in 1948, proved that saturated fat from animals does not cause heart disease. But doctors are telling patients that it does because they're reading, articles put out by food manufacturers and so forth, which basically are promoting their agenda, which is obviously happens in all industries. So it's very important for people to understand that saturated fat from animals are not bad for you. And then omega-3 is a polyunsaturated fat from nuts and seeds and so forth. Fish, that's very good for you. Okay, thins the blood and has many other functions also.
And then thinning the blood, is that something good also? Because we are also under the impression that thinning the blood isn't good for us and that it can create blood clots.
Well, the food we're eating, the processed oils and so forth, those cause blood clots, okay? That'll thicken your blood. And so it's counteracted by your omega-3s, which are polyunsaturated also, okay? So omega-3s are very good for you. And you must have a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 omega-3s to 1 omega-6. But we're sitting with a reverse ratio, more omega-6 to omega-3 because of the foods we're eating, and that's thickening the blood. So it's not surprising people getting heart attacks and strokes and so forth, yeah.
You're listening to Radio 786 100.4 FM. Do be a part of the conversation. Contact us on 021 699 1786. And we have Abu Ali and Auntie Nazima that will be more than happy to take your calls this morning. Now, Doctor, tell us more about the cholesterol scam and the confusion that is currently taking place. And then also the difference between the densities of the cholesterol, the high and the low lipoprotein. If I'm saying that correctly.
Yes. Maybe we should just start with it's called LDL cholesterol and HDL cholesterol. Now, LDL just refers to a lipoprotein. The L refers to a lipoprotein, and LD refers to low density, HD high density, and the L refers to lipoprotein. So it's a lipoprotein. It's a kind of protein that carries lipids. You see, cholesterol is not soluble in water, and your blood is watery substance. So you need something to carry this cholesterol in the blood, because it wouldn't dissolve in the blood. So Allah gave us this protein called lipoprotein. Carries cholesterol. It's like if you think about the blood as a highway, then your LDL is like the cars on the highway. Okay, now you have big cars on the highway and small cars. Okay, so you have a big LDL and small LDL. Now with the small LDL, you can have a rusty small car and a normal small car. Okay, so the normal small car is a non-oxidized LDL, whereas a rusty small car is the oxidized LDL. It's that rusty small car. It's the vehicle, okay? That actually is the dangerous thing, because that can cause inflammation in the arteries and then cause, arterial plaques. And then in the cars, you have passengers, okay? Now, the passengers are your cholesterol, your triglycerides, your antioxidants, and so forth, your vitamins, your fat-soluble vitamins. So these are the passengers carried by the cars, which are the lipoprotein, LDL. And so the problem is not the cholesterol. And when you measure cholesterol, they usually measure the cholesterol, but they should be measuring the number of cars, because it's the number of cars, the number of particles that's the problem, not the amount of cholesterol. And with what happens is we're living in a world where we're so stressed that our bodies are always inflamed. You have chronic systemic inflammation. Now, cholesterol is involved in repair processes in every cell. So when you're getting damage around the body, you're always going to have cholesterol in the blood, because it has to move around the body to go and repair what's happening, restructure the cells and so forth. So when you measure cholesterol, suddenly, everybody's cholesterol is up, because everybody's body is inflamed. And now they find cholesterol at the site of the crime, the arterial plaque, and they say cholesterol's to blame. It's like blaming a fireman, because there's always firemen at the scene of a fire. Say, oh no, the fireman is the cause of the fire. Or if there's a detective, always a detective at the scene of a
he's
murder,
not seeing what he's supposed to see.
They always find a detective there, and they say, the detective caused the murder. So they find cholesterol at the scene of a plaque, or at a plaque site, and they say, cholesterol caused the plaque. Cause and correlation are two completely different things.
And the things that we do is we don't go to the source of the problem. We always seem to look after it from the top, or the top layer, or the utmost surface, and we don't go to the root to actually try and overcome it as a whole. And unfortunately, when we get medication, that is exactly what it does.
Yeah, look, medication is to treat the symptoms, not to find the cause. But this cholesterol scam comes from the late 1800s. There was a German...
So it's a scam.
It's a complete... Well, all the research shows that cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease.
Wow.
Plain and simple. Statins reduce cholesterol, but they also reduce coenzyme Q10 and cause a whole lot of other problems. And there's more than 300 negative medical events associated with statins. So people are best for them not to take statins, because that's going to cause them more harm than good. It doesn't cause good in any case, unless it's a small percentage of people. And it's not because of its cholesterol lowering effect, as I said, but because of probably its anti-inflammatory effect and its blood thinning effect. But because the harm is so great, forget about the benefits. There's other ways you can reduce inflammation in your blood rather than with statins. Yeah.
And then what about what about cholesterol? Are these type of sicknesses, or this in health or malnutrition that we receive, is it possible that we can receive it through our genes and from our parents?
There is a small percentage of people who have a genetic propensity to have a high cholesterol level in their blood, bad LDL as they call it. There is a percentage of people. A lot of lipid specialists, gurus, they say, in those people you must use statins to keep your cholesterol down, and probably there may be a place for statins in that case, because the benefit there may outweigh the risks of using the statin, in those people. But it's a small percentage of people. I probably would still avoid statins in that case. But that's just me.
So for those that aren't too sure what statins are, at what stage would the doctor actually recommend you to take statins?
When he finds your cholesterol to be high, most doctors, virtually if you speak to many people, you'll find they're all on statins. Even if they're healthy people, they went to the doctor and the doctor said, your cholesterol's high, you must be on a statin. And what's actually happened is if people have everybody has a different range of cholesterol. Your body keeps your cholesterol within a certain range, okay? It's a genetic thing. And if you have too little cholesterol in your blood, your liver will make more. If you have too much, it'll make less. So everybody has a certain range. What the pharmaceutical companies have done, based on no science at all, they've reduced the upper limit of normal of cholesterol. So now you have suddenly a bigger percentage of people who now have abnormal cholesterol, even though it may be normal for them. So a lot of people think they have abnormal cholesterol, a high cholesterol, when it's in fact normal for them. These guys have come along and changed the range, and said, if it's more than 5, then you've got high cholesterol, But it may be normal for a person to have 5.5 cholesterol, Now suddenly you got a bigger market to sell your statins, So it's a whole, like we spoke about the pharmaceutical industry in the past, It's a crazy world we live in, unfortunately. Yeah.
If you would like to be a part of the conversation, do message us on 0786 10 11 12, or you can be a part of the conversation on 021 699 1786. For now, we're going for a short ad break, inshallah. We'll be back shortly.
Feel the heart. Experience the soul. Community Pulse.
You're listening to Radio 786, 100.4 FM. It's the first hour of a Community Pulse, and as Zainab does every Thursday, is Thursday today? Yes, it is Thursday. Can you believe it? And I'm sure you know there's lots of things happening in the news, but we won't get into that. This morning with myself and Dr. Faiez, we're speaking about good and bad fats and oils and cholesterol more. We're taking a closer look at cholesterol, and unfortunately there's a cholesterol scam and there's so much confusion. Dr. Faiez, I know there is a article that I was just looking at through the break, and it was published in Australia, and it actually says a bad cholesterol actually makes you live longer.
Bad cholesterol. Like we said, there's no bad or good cholesterol. There's just cholesterol. Okay?
So
what they're saying, they're probably talking about LDL cholesterol,
probably,
or the LDL part of cholesterol. Yeah, makes you live longer. How do they explain that?
We're going to have to go into that article and actually see. Listeners, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, do call us on 021 699 1786 or send us your WhatsApp messages on 0786 10 11 12. Doc, take us through the history of when exactly this whole cholesterol scam came about.
It actually started way back in the late 1800s by a German pathologist named Rudolf Virchow. He was sort of analyzing dead bodies, looking at arterial plaques in dead bodies, and he saw a lot of cholesterol in those plaques. And he came up with this theory, in fact, that it's actually cholesterol that causes, plaque buildup in the arteries and then causes heart disease and vascular disease and so forth. And then in 1913, a Russian by the name of, what was his name, Nikolai Anichikov or something, and he fed cholesterol to rabbits, okay? And he found this cholesterol clogged the rabbits' arteries. Wow, he said, wow, cholesterol's the cause of this,
Mm-hmm.
The problem is rabbits don't normally eat cholesterol. They're herbivores. They eat plants, They don't eat cholesterol, okay? So that was a completely invalid study. Then the fact that they found cholesterol in the plaques was completely refuted by many, many studies after that show that cholesterol is not the cause of arterial plaques. We'll carry on now.
On that note, we have a caller online, Doctor. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Aisha. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, and you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And also salam to doctor. How are you, doctor?
Walaikum salam, brother. I'm very well. How are you? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Doctor, we speak about all these illnesses that has befallen in our society. Is there such a program of depopulation where they must depopulate the countries, and they depopulate countries by feeding the people the foodstuffs, the GMO products and all that, and this is the cause of many, many, many illnesses. Is this program still very much alive? I believe Bill Gates is one of them, Time Warner is one of them that has brought up the suggestion because of the overpopulation of the countries. Is there such a program as that where they feed you and they make you sick and they create sickness and they do all these types of things to sort of depopulate the world? Is it still in motion? Can you just elaborate on that, please, Doctor?
Okay, shukran.
Shukran so much.
Now
Walaikum
listen to you.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Doctor, I think that's an excellent idea. That's an excellent confusion. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, very good question. Shukran for that, brother. The fourth pillar of Satanism is what? Eugenics, okay?
Yeah.
So that means, population control. Those in control decide who lives and who dies. And they decided, I think, that most of humanity must die, okay? And so in every part of your life, take any aspect of your life, you'll see you being bombarded with weapons, okay? Like I said, we are in a war. And if you don't know that you're in a war, you're already lost, okay? And if you don't defend yourself, it's very difficult to defend yourself. But if you're not doing anything to defend yourself, you are going to get sick and you're going to die prematurely. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get all sorts of funny diseases because it cannot but not happen because these people are launching these weapons at us, whether it's in the food, like the brother said, coming from the air. We just spoke chemtrails, spraying aluminium into the air. We spoke about electromagnetic fields and radio frequencies not too long ago. The pharmaceutical industry, their products, harm more people than they actually help, okay? So we are in a war. It's part of the eugenics agenda, the eugenics aspect of the globalist agenda, is to kill off most of humanity, if not all, okay? And also to disempower before you kill. So you weaken people, you weaken populations, you weaken cities. The 100 Resilient Cities project by Rockefeller Rothschild is not to make cities resilient, it is actually to weaken cities. So you're living in an inverted world. So whatever these people say, take it to be the opposite. Okay, then you'll be right. Okay? So when you see 100 Resilient Cities funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, read it as 100 weakened cities, okay? Because that's really the ultimate aim.
Really
That's what's happening. You live in an inverted satanic world, okay? So when your doctor says this is to make you better, the statin is going to bring your cholesterol down and make you better. A low cholesterol kills people, okay? And statins lower your cholesterol. Statins deplete your body of coenzyme Q10, which your cells need. Your mitochondria need that to produce energy. So when you're on a statin, you'll find yourself becoming sicker and sicker, going into heart failure, and you'll wonder why. It's not your age, like a doctor will say. Oh, it's your age, He won't tell you it's a statin that's weakening your heart. Okay? So it's part of the agenda. Yes, brother, you're quite right. It's part of the eugenics aspect of the globalist agenda. Yeah. So anyway, coming back to those two studies, the one gave cholesterol to rabbits, which don't eat cholesterol normally. The other one found cholesterol in plaques. Now, in the 1950s, many studies were done which also tried to show that cholesterol is a cause of heart disease. And then one of the main or the notorious studies done by a guy called Ansel Keys, he was a physiologist or a nutritionist living in the mid part of last century. He became intrigued after World War II at the level of heart disease that was skyrocketing. And he came up with this theory that when you eat fats, saturated fats, that is what raises your cholesterol. That was his theory. So he studied 22 countries to prove his hypothesis correct, okay? And you know what he did? He only took 6 of those countries out. And he showed that the more saturated fat people eat, the higher the cholesterol levels are in the blood. That's what he showed. In 6 countries. Remember, he studied 22. He left out 16 countries. Mm-hmm. Later on, when people discovered this data, they plotted all the data on a graph. They found there was absolutely no relationship between the amount of fat you eat, especially saturated fat, and cholesterol in your blood. So Ansel Keys actually cherry-picked the data to prove his hypothesis correct. And this happens a lot in industry. To prove that, their product is good and, they are right in their hypothesis, they will fake the data. They will fraudulently. It's all. You can't rely on a lot of data and trials coming out of industry, especially the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, because obviously they need to produce results that show their products to be favorable or whatever their hypotheses are. So Ansel Keys but he was an influential guy. He got onto the advisory committee of that American Heart Association, convinced them that he was correct. His 6 country study showed a correlation positive between saturated fats that you eat, dietary fats, and cholesterol. And they believed him, and they recommended that everybody stop eating fats, have a low-fat diet and a high-carbohydrate diet. And from that point onwards, Americans, started swelling up,
putting on weight,
and it happened, and it went around all over the world basically. And if you look even just in our city, most people are overweight. So because of all the carbs we're eating, and carbs are bad for you, especially the refined carbs. So, and then the American government stepped in And they basically also said, yeah, we recommend, our food guide pyramid is that you should eat more carbs and less fat. And that was a massive, massive mistake, or deliberate part of the eugenics agenda, I would imagine. So Ansel Keys actually a fraudulent study that he basically produced results, and that's where it basically skyrocketed from that point onwards. I just want to mention something between correlation and causation. If you take 5 soccer teams, for example, and you take the people who score most of the goals in those 5 soccer teams, and you try to find out why do these guys score most of the goals, and you find that all of them wear the same soccer boots. So the guys wearing the same soccer boots score the most goals in a team. Would you come to the conclusion that it's the soccer boots that's making them score more goals?
No.
No.
It's their soccer skill.
But a lot of people will come to that conclusion and say, well,
it's the shoes.
It's the shoes. Look, everybody's wearing the same shoes and they're all scoring the most goals. But that's just a correlation.
Yes.
Okay? You have to look at many other factors, the talent of the person, level of fitness, the ability to read the game, and so forth. And if you study a bit further, you may find that other soccer players are also wearing the same boots but not scoring so many goals, So correlation and causation are 2 different things. So even though he found in 6 countries that people who eat a lot of saturated fat had high cholesterol, that was just a correlation. That doesn't mean to say that the saturated fat actually cause high cholesterol, because it's found that that's not the case. That's actually a myth. And also the cholesterol that you eat, very little of it actually gets into your bloodstream. Most of your cholesterol actually comes from your body's production. From the liver produces cholesterol. A small percentage comes from your diet. Most of it passes straight through.
And that is something I'm sure not many of us know. And then, Doctor, looking at the food pyramid, we must all admit that it is hard to follow it. And this is simply because of the different levels of income that the community receives. And everybody is obviously on different levels. But the unhealthy foods, or more of the carbs, unfortunately cheaper than all the other healthier foods. Before you answer that call, Doctor, we do have a call online. Caller, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. You live on 786, so you can go ahead with your question.
The first time that I phone now. Will I speak to Mr. Kirsten, please?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Wa alaikum salam. You can speak, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, doctor. I always listen to you. I'm very impressed with what you say.
Shukran.
I'm a person that got cholesterol. I was, when I became 41, and I found out, a doctor said I got cholesterol. I didn't know what it is. But my father passed away when he was nearly 64, and he had a severe heart attack, and I don't know if he had cholesterol. So I used all that things, and I came to Lipitor, and Lipitor bring the cholesterol down. But I read that the somatostatin in the Lipitor is not good. So I found somebody, he's a homeopath, osteopath, Dr. Kerry. He got something, we call it Stroco. And the Stroco is made from a plant from Germany. So I started with that. I'm now using it for 6 years. I don't check my cholesterol, and I got no problem with cholesterol. And I eat the right stuff, and I do exercises. So I just wanted to know if you heard about Stroco, Strolco. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Doctor.
I haven't heard of Stroco, but there's many natural ways to lower cholesterol. Many natural ways to lower cholesterol. You don't need statins. The best way to do it is with the Mediterranean diet, which is a low-carb diet, high fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, avocado oil, some fish, and also the Pan-Asian diet, which is a lot of fish, wild fish, and seaweed, Those people live the longest, actually, in the Mediterranean regions and in the blue zones, like in Okinawa, Japan. So there's many natural ways to lower cholesterol, like eating proper foods, keeping your carbs low as possible, and eating a lot of good fat. A lot of good fat actually lowers your cholesterol, okay? And like the brother says, he's taking some natural thing to keep cholesterol low, and he's happy. you see. If you had been on that statin for the last few years, I can almost guarantee you wouldn't be as happy today.
And you can hear that he's healthy and he's taken the much needed step that he's needed to.
Absolutely, because it affects basically your whole body. I mean, it has 300 plus adverse medical effects. So it can destroy your brain, your heart, your nervous system, your nerves, your muscles. People have muscle pain. They have weakness, tiredness. This is what comes from using statins. A lot of people go into heart failure because the heart just can't function anymore. There's no more coenzyme Q10. It just depletes it. So statins are bad news. It's not what I'm saying. This is what is irrefutable in terms of the research that's been done over many years now. But it's still on the market because, like I spoke about earlier on epipolitics, I mentioned that to you. Governments will never be able to have the power to stop these things from happening. Yeah. That's just unfortunate. Yeah.
You do have a few minutes to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation on 021-699-1786. So, Doc, as I was mentioning before the caller did come through, once again, shukran to him, it's unfortunate that the good foods that we are supposed to eat is expensive and most of the time we can't afford it.
I know food is expensive, but I mean we have to decide. Do we just eat the cheap junk foods, knowing full well that in fact it's going to harm us and make us sick? And remember, the cost of getting sick
and medical
may
bills
actually exceed the cost of that so-called expensive food. So you got to weigh it up, But obviously, it's part of the agenda to make the food that's good for you, organic foods and so forth, expensive, so it's out of the reach of the masses. Because you don't want a healthy, clear-thinking population. Mass of people, because then you can't control them. You have to keep them dumbed down, unthinking, disempowered, struggling every day, because then you can easily control them. It's just part of the strategy. These people are seriously diabolical. They're evil. They are seriously evil people, psychopathic. So we must understand, and this is very important for people to understand what you're dealing with. Okay, this is satanic stuff. Okay. But a lot of people don't believe it, and nothing I can do about that, unfortunately.
And then, Doc, before we close, talking about good and bad fats and oils and saturated, I have to ask you very quickly about banting then. Because banting is the good foods that's now fried in butter.
Butter's good for you. Butter's good.
All the time.
Organic butter's good. What's better, though, is clarified butter, which is ghee. Where the milk, solids and dairy part of it is taken out. It's just the fat, the pure saturated fat. That's extremely healthy. So butter's good. Margarine's very bad. It's a partially hydrogenated fat. It's actually a trans fat. If you're eating margarine, please stop right now. That is not food, okay? That is going to make you really sick. Margarine, bad news. Okay, it's a trans fat. It's a fake fat, okay? So... sorry, was there another question? Yeah?
No, that was it. And then, Doc, from your side, anything in closing, any tips or advice that you'd like to leave us with this morning?
Maybe, I mentioned the Framingham study, which is the longest running study to look at the causation of heart disease, in Massachusetts. Started in Massachusetts in 1948, and it's still running today. 5,000 people initially, I think it's running into its third generation of residents. And one of the researchers, of that study said that people have been misled by the greatest scientific deception of our times, the notion that consumption of animal fat causes heart disease. And that from the Framingham study researcher. So, and this is the longest running study, which is irrefutably shown that in fact there's no correlation, it's not the causation. Animal fat consumption, saturated fat consumption is not causing heart disease. Cholesterol also doesn't cause heart disease. Trans fat does. High carb diet does. Okay, stop. The only way to really prevent heart disease is to stop eating these things and exercise and reduce your stress and all these other good things.
On that note, Doctor, I want to say shukran so much to you. It's been wonderful sharing this first hour with you this morning. Until next week's edition, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Afwan, Mishka, appreciate it.
You're listening to Radio 786 100.4 FM, and that also concludes the first hour of Community Pulse. On top of the hour is the news at 10 o'clock already. Thereafter will be the second hour with Just For You with myself, Mishka Muhammad. Until then, inshallah, you keep well and keep smiling, and I'll catch you after 10, inshallah.